Guys, welcome in. I just want to talk about college football. That's it. I just want to talk about college football 10 to 15 minutes. And we actually got great timing because ESPN released their way too early FPI rankings. Every team ranked 1 through 130th. These are going to change a lot, but I do quickly want to talk about these. We'll talk about the Heisman odds, the best value, the overall national championship odds, things like that, just miscellaneous stuff. But let's get to the first official top FPI preseason 2022 rankings. You can take a look at the top 10 teams. We all knew it was going to be Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia in some order. They go Alabama 1. They're at plus 28.9. Ohio State 2 at plus 28.3, so very close. And then Georgia number 3 at plus 27.4. I think that's exactly how the preseason poll is going to go. The AP preseason poll, it's going to be Bama 1, Ohio State 2, and Georgia 3. And then there is a drop-off. And I do agree, Clemson is a solid number 4 team. They've got an unbelievable defense. They've recruited so well. Even in their quote-unquote down year, they went 10-3. The problem with Clemson is just DJ Uiagalelei, the quarterback. It looks like we saw in the spring game with Clemson, he's not improving very much. They want the true freshman to start over him. Then we've got Notre Dame, guys. Remember, that's a huge drop-off. Wow. So from Clemson to Notre Dame, that's a 6-point difference, 23-17, and we've got the huge week 1 matchup, possibly the biggest non-conference matchup, or I would say definitely the biggest non-conference matchup of the season. It's Ohio State and Notre Dame in Columbus, week 1. Probably going to be Saturday night, 7:30 ABC game. And I would guess Ohio State would go into that game being ranked 2nd, and Notre Dame is probably going to be ranked 5th or 6th or maybe 7th. And then we get some outliers. And I understand the talent with Quinn Ewers, with Bijan Robinson, Xavier Worthy. They've got talent. Billingsley, the transfer from Alabama. But you cannot have Texas at number 6. I mean, that is just, I understand the potential. I get it. But, with these rankings, you have to use a little bit of prior history and the fact that Texas just has simply not been very good the past 3 or 4 years, even just really recent history. So Texas at number 6, I would be okay in an analytical model if they were ranked maybe 20th or like 22nd. I'm trying to be nice. But 6th is just way too aggressive. And we've got that week 2 matchup, Alabama at Texas. And that's kind of how this FPI model can get thrown off. I want to talk about Auburn, though, when it comes to that. Auburn, for whatever reason, is ranked 10th. Michigan at number 7. That's respectable. They return their quarterback, but they do lose Aiden Hutchinson. They also lose Daxton Hill and Ojabo, so that's a lot on the defense. They return most of their offense. You've got Oklahoma there. Without Lincoln Riley, they've had some transfers. We'll see. You got to respect them, though. You have to respect them. With Brett Venables, his first year, we'll see that. Pittsburgh at number 9 is a surprise without Kenny Pickett. And they factor all this stuff in. So they factor in that Kenny Pickett is not going to be there into their computer model, the FPI model. So really surprised. I think they're really overrating Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh, but you lose Kenny Pickett. I'd probably have them at like 17th or 18th maybe. I'd have to really look at their roster. They do return Jordan Addison, the superstar receiver. And then let's just talk about Auburn. So this is the main problem with these FPI models. You've got an SEC team like Auburn coming in at number 10. If I was trying to be nice, in terms of where I would rank Auburn, I would maybe put them 33rd or like 34th. These rankings are going to change before the season. I understand that. But guys, come on. And the issue is it completely throws off the entire model because Auburn, a team in the SEC, they face Georgia, they face Alabama. When Auburn loses to Georgia, you would think, Auburn's not very good. Obviously, they're going to lose to Georgia. But this FBI model has them ranked number 10th overall, so that becomes a major win for Georgia and boosts Georgia up even more. It's just like, let's say Auburn loses at home to Arkansas, right? You think, Arkansas beats Auburn, whatever. But according to this model, because Auburn is ranked 10th, that is a major win for Arkansas, and that boosts Arkansas up. That's why people claim SEC bias with models like this. There is literally no explanation for Auburn, who lost their starting quarterback. They're a train wreck of a program right now. There's no explanation for them to be in the top 20, let alone 10th overall. And this is the issue. Yeah, they're going to lose all these games, but because they're ranked number 10, that will buffer up SEC teams when it really shouldn't. So it's like these rankings, it's the same thing with Texas. Like, Alabama and Texas face week 2 in Texas. We expect Alabama and Bryce Young to beat Texas. And it's like, I think that's a good win for Alabama. But it's not, Texas is not the number 6 overall team. And according to this FPI model, if Alabama goes into Texas and beats Texas, they're going on the road and beating the number 6 overall team. That's going to weigh heavily in favor of Alabama. Again, I understand they base it off of recruiting. Quinn Ewers is a huge transfer get. Bijan Robinson is a beast. Xavier Worthy is an unbelievable sophomore receiver. I get all of that. They always recruit well. In terms of talent, you'd probably put them at 8th or 9th most talented roster, but you also have to factor in the recent success or lack of success for a team like Texas. So, I mean, again, if you're being very liberal, if you're being nice, maybe you rank Texas 17th or 18th due to their talent. Maybe. But like them coming in at number 6 overall, those are the two big ones. It's Texas and it's Auburn. Having Bama number 1, you've got Will Anderson back. You've got the Heisman Trophy winner back. Ohio State 2. I completely agree Ohio State should be above Georgia. You know, Georgia with Stetson Bennett, I know he won the national title. We understand that, but it just limits their potential. And Ohio State with C.J. Stroud, possibly the Heisman favorite coming back. They've got a new and improved defense that's really talented. I actually think Ohio State is the best team in college football next year. Non-bias, but those are the top 10. Going 11 through 20, you've got LSU. That's not surprising. Normally, LSU, due to their talented roster, they perform pretty well on these preseason analytical rankings. Penn State, they're always very strong. They return a veteran quarterback in Sean Clifford. Oklahoma State, I think they might disappoint. Texas A&M, maybe some people surprised they're down at number 14 after their historic recruiting class, the greatest class in history, aided heavily by, the name, image, likeness, money, and things like that. But Texas A&M, all those kids are true freshmen, so it's going to take them a year or two to really break out. And you look at their spring game this past weekend, their fans were really angry about the quarterback situation. Utah, a lot of people high on Utah to win the Pac-12. We'll have to see if they do that. Michigan State, that's a respectable ranking at number 16. They do lose Kenneth Walker. We'll have to see how Mel Tucker does. Ole Miss coming in at number 17. They were extremely active in the transfer portal, getting Jackson Dart from, I believe, USC. We'll see what Lane Kiffin can do with him. He is a top-ranked quarterback and was actually ranked as a 5-star transfer, according to 247 Sports. Then you've got Miami coming in at number 18. Tyler Van Dyke. It's interesting, right? Tyler Van Dyke's a very interesting pro prospect. He's a huge quarterback. He's got a major arm. That's going to be a team to watch. Baylor at 19. I'm not buying them. I just don't buy the talent. They do have really good coaching. Kentucky at number 20, solid football team. Moving 21 through 32, we've got Wisconsin. I would put Wisconsin a little bit higher. I would put Wisconsin probably at around 15 or 16, but they have them at 21. North Carolina without Sam Howell, they have recruited decently under Mac Brown recently, and they still do have their superstar receiver Josh Downs. Then you've got Oregon coming in at number 23. Their new coach, the former Georgia defensive coordinator, we'll have to see how they do without Mario Cristobal. Mississippi State, I don't see it. I think that's just SEC, but I don't know. I don't see it. Florida at 25. Anthony Richardson is very interesting. He's a very intriguing dual threat quarterback. I can understand it. NC State's a team I really like. If there's a team that can upset Clemson and win the ACC due to Clemson's poor quarterback play, it would be NC State. They return a bunch. Iowa State without Breece Hall, without Brock Purdy, I'm not buying it. Although Matt Campbell always has that program. It seems like they always win at least 8 or 9 games. Tennessee, very interesting program with Hayden Hooker, played really well last year. He's going into his second full year of starting, so he's got some experience now. Arkansas at 29, I respect it, returning KJ Jefferson. He's always fun to watch. Wake Forest returning Sam Hartman in a winnable, there's a lot of winnable games in the ACC. FSU, that's just due to talents. We'll have to see. And then Cincinnati at number 32. Cincinnati loses a ton. Cincinnati's probably going to go through a rebuilding year. I mean, you look at the draft, guys. I do these mock drafts, and Cincinnati, there's like 6 Cincinnati players that are going to get taken in the first 2 rounds of the draft. Like, for a program like Cincinnati, which is not a Power 5 program, that is a lot to replace. And I think with Cincinnati, it's more of a rebuild instead of a reload. I could see them losing to teams like Memphis, Houston. Maybe they lose to an average American team. I could see them with 4 or 5 losses. They just lose so much. And then obviously Ahmad Gardner, Desmond Ridder. There's a lot. Myjai Sanders. They've got a linebacker that's probably going to get picked in the top 4 round. Alec Pierce. For a team that's not a Power 5 team, that's a lot to lose. Now, I did quickly want to touch on the updated Heisman Trophy odds and just kind of talk about who I like, who's trending right now. So you've got Bryce Young as the favorite. He won the Heisman last year. It would be very surprising if Bryce Young won it again. Plus 200 is not a good bet at all. We've only had one 2-time Heisman winner in history. Not saying it can't happen. Maybe if Bryce Young is by far the best player, he's going to win it again. He will. But Alabama has some receiver issues. I don't see it happening. They've got a transfer running back who's a stud from Georgia Tech, Gibbs. I think they're going to use him a bunch. He's going to get a bunch of rushing touchdowns. CJ Stroud coming in at plus 400. He's the safest bet to me. You've got CJ Stroud in an offense that's going to have a good offensive line, a superstar running back. You've got superstar receivers, possibly the best receiver in college football, Jackson Smith-Njigba. You've got Marvin Harrison Jr. You've got Emeka Egbuka. These are absolute superstar receivers, not to mention Julian Fleming, who is one of the highest ranked wide receiver recruits in the history of recruiting. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of potential. So CJ Stroud in that Ryan Day offense, I don't think it's a question of where Ohio State's going to finish. To me, Ohio State is guaranteed, as long as CJ Stroud is healthy, they will be the number 1 offense in college football for the second straight year. They will have the most yards per game for the second straight year. They will average the most points per game for the second straight year. They will average the most yards per play for the second straight year with CJ Stroud. Still a very good offensive line. Ohio State has had some struggles recruiting offensive linemen recently, but that's not really going to rear its ugly head until next year. You've still got Paris Johnson Jr., who's an absolute 5-star stud. He's going to kick out and probably be the left tackle. You've got a guy like Donovan Jackson, who's another 5-star guard. They have a really good offensive line. And Ohio State with Trevion Henderson, I think CJ Stroud, I would put his over-under touchdowns maybe 49.5, and I'd probably take the over. I mean, if CJ Stroud plays 14 or 15 games, I could see him throwing 56, 57 touchdowns. You've got Caleb Williams at plus 900. I think it's too early. Caleb Williams is only going into his second year, so to me, his big Heisman year will be 2023. That's my opinion on Caleb Williams, not this year. Bijan Robinson, listen, it's interesting. Bijan Robinson plus 1,500. If Texas is officially back, let's say they beat Alabama and he runs for 200 yards, yeah, he's going to catapult to the front of the Heisman list. The question is, you're relying on Texas to do something they haven't done in recent history, which is actually perform to their potential. Not saying Bijan Robinson isn't a good player, but he could go up and put 1,700 yards. But if Texas loses 4 games, you're not winning the Heisman. You're just not. So the problem with Bijan is Texas, their team overall, with Quinn Ewers, we'll see. It's his first year starting. We'll have to see with him. DJ Uiagalelei, I don't see it. You've got Clemson people saying they want the true freshman to start. They don't like Uiagalelei. Jackson Dart, another one. Lincoln Riley, a good quarterback coach, but I'm not seeing it with Dart. It could happen. You never know. Spencer Rattler, that's not happening. Spencer Rattler at South Carolina, it's not going to happen. Trevion Henderson, they've actually spelled his name wrong. That's a little disrespectful. That's an E, not an A there. Come on, guys. But Trevion Henderson is someone who's going to have at least 15 rushing touchdowns. He's going to have at least 1,500 rushing yards, but I think he's going to be overshadowed by CJ Stroud and maybe even JSN. Okay, here's an interesting one, and this would be an interesting value play. There is going to be some Bama fatigue when it comes to voting for the Heisman because you just had Devontae Smith win it, you just had Bryce Young win it. But I think the fact that this is a defensive player, I'm going to say this right now. I guarantee you a defensive player will win the Heisman once within the next 5 years. The media is starving to give the Heisman Trophy to a defensive player. Will Anderson already has the narrative that he was gypped out of the Heisman ceremony when people were saying he should have made it over Aiden Hutchinson last year. This is a guy who is, he's my number one overall draft prospect in front of both CJ Stroud and Bryce Young for 2023. This dude could put up 22 sacks. Like, that's how scary good and athletic this hybrid pass rusher is. I get annoyed when it's like, why is he listed as a linebacker? He's not a linebacker. He's a pass rusher. But either way, Will Anderson is just an absolute beast, and he would be a great value play. I understand the Bama fatigue, but I think the fact that he's a defensive player changes it a little bit and makes it interesting. Will Anderson plus 3,000. So if you bet $100, you get an extra $50 or something. You would win $1,500. If you bet 50, if you bet 100, you'd win 3,000. So that's an interesting one. Dylan Gabriel, I'm not seeing it. Brett Venables is a defensive coach. Dylan Gabriel's a good quarterback. He was really good at UCF, but he's coming off a major injury. Then you've got Tyler Van Dyke. This year, I'm not seeing it either with Tyler Van Dyke. JT Daniels, who recently transferred to West Virginia. Not going to happen. Quinn Ewers, no way. Breon Allen, definitely interesting. He's going into his second year. I think he's another one like Caleb Williams who will probably be a favorite going into his junior year. It might be a little young for him. Slovis, who is now at Pitt. Oh, so they got Slovis. That might factor into their FPI ranking. I really don't love Slovis. He didn't do great last year. And then Anthony Richardson is kind of a wild card. You're really just throwing something at a dartboard there. I also wanted to show Jackson Smith-Njigba's odds. He's plus 5,000. I think if Jackson Smith-Njigba, he could put up 2,000 yards. It just depends, will he play enough when Ohio State's blowing teams out for him to get 2,000 yards? I'm guessing he'll probably go for 1,800 yards receiving with like 15 touchdowns. And I think if he has a really good year, unfortunately, in front of him is going to be CJ Stroud, who's his quarterback. Another interesting one, Brennan Armstrong. I love Brennan Armstrong, but he can't win the Heisman at Virginia. Malik Cunningham's an extremely fun dual-threat quarterback. He's not going to win the Heisman, though. Max Johnson, very interesting there. Texas A&M, the LSU transfer Max Johnson. Jaden Daniels, who is now at LSU. He's a good quarterback. He is. The transfer from Arizona State. That'll be interesting with Jaden Daniels at LSU. And then you've got Bo Nix, the quarterback, who they have listed as a running back for some reason. Not exactly sure on that. How about Zach Charbonnet? Zach Charbonnet's a beast, man. I compare Zach Charbonnet to Jonathan Taylor. That's how he runs. But those are just updated odds there, and I'm not going to go through all the other things. When you look at overall championship odds, you've got Alabama plus 200. That's a tough bet for me. Like, when I'm projecting this far out the champion, I'm not going to throw a bet down on a team plus 200. It's just not good enough odds. It's not enticing enough. I think Georgia would be a terrible bet. People underestimate how hard it is to repeat in college football. Georgia is not repeating. Stetson Bennett is not winning 2 national titles. Okay, Georgia fans should be very happy with where their program is going. You just won the frickin' national title, but it's not going to happen in 2022. It's just not. Ohio State, I think that's great value. I think it's great. I think it's Ohio State's year. It's Ohio State's time. Plus 500. There's no way they lose to Michigan at home, especially after what happened last year. So I think they're a lock for the college football playoff. And then you've got CJ Stroud, who's a returning quarterback. You've got a new defensive coordinator in Jim Knowles who can coach up elite talent. A lot of 5-star talent on that defense. Plus 500, I think, is very good value. Clemson plus 1,000, the quarterback situation. Clemson's going to have an amazing defense with 5 stars all over the place. But the quarterback situation is a major. I mean, you've got Miles Murphy, you've got Brian Brazier, you've got Trenton Simpson. The line. I mean, it's just the talent Clemson has on their defense in a bad ACC. They're going to feast on these offenses. A&M, I think the quarterback is going to hold them back this year, and all of their 5-star defensive linemen that they paid for are very young. They're all true freshmen. USC. Too early. I would say too early. It'll be, USC, I think, if I was a USC fan, I would be hoping for a Pac-12 win. Maybe you sneak into the college football playoff, but I would mainly be hoping for the Rose Bowl. A Rose Bowl appearance, you beat Utah. That would be a great year, and you've got Lincoln Riley recruiting so well. That's what I would do if I was them. Oklahoma, I don't see it. Michigan, I don't see it. I don't see any chance Michigan beats Ohio State 2 years in a row, let alone in Columbus. Wisconsin, the quarterback situation, right? It's going to be a major issue. And then these are actual other Heisman odds. These odds actually have C.J. Stroud as the favorite, which I agree with. But it would just be so tough to bet, plus 200 for C.J. Stroud this early. It's just not good enough value. I think Bryce Young has better value there, plus 400. Caleb Williams, plus 1,200, some interesting value as well. How about Quinn Ewers at number 7? Where's Bijan Robinson? Oh, that might just be the quarterbacks. I think that's just the quarterbacks, I would hope. Because you would think Bijan Robinson would have better odds than Quinn Ewers. But, guys, just wanted to do some quick updates with the FPI coming out. I talked a little bit longer there. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, a little bit longer. But that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.